for people in uh, uh, even resisting pressures to conform. So, so when people are creating gardens in low income areas and areas where kids might go into gangs, this is even something that has been established that you can help turn people around by having gardens in these areas. So, for instance, if you're trying to reconnect with nature in your garden, you can use plants that even in small spaces that attract birds and bees and butterflies to help complete that experience of being in nature. So, you know, you probably all know how lantana can really help to help the butterfly population. So working in the garden, just to continue on that vein, means that you'll live longer. So studies show that people that work in the garden can cut their chance of stroke and heart attack. And even as little as 30 to 45 minutes of gardening 3 or 4 times a week can help to combat obesity. Nothing else, it just gets you in there and working out a little bit. And that also that gardening can help to retrain your muscles and by improving coordination. And my favorite story about this was before I became a landscape architect, I was a social worker, and I had one client that came in with her psychedelic cane and told me, you know, she had had a stroke, and she said that that the way that she regained her mobility, her ability to walk, was that when she had her first stroke, she would crawl to the lot next door to her that was empty, and she would pull weeds out of the ground, and that's how she actually ended up rehabilitating herself. So, so you know, the garden in many different ways can be a healing space. So, you know, something we all know to avoid injury, you want to raise your bed so that your back and legs are protected from stress. And so also your plants can be a great benefit. There's many kinds of plants, even things that, oops, sorry. Sorry about that. I should have turned my ringer off. It's off. So even things that have been considered weeds, like dandelions. So that is actually used to treat eczema, and it can be used internally for arthritis and intestinal disorders. So, you know, you probably know that you can use teas from the leaves. You can use the leaves to make teas and things like that that will help to heal you. And of course, rosemary can reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. And that, you know, you probably all know that it's an oil. As an oil, it can be antibacterial and antifungal. It also improves circulation in the brain. Lavender, anti-inflammatory and antiseptic. It can be used to treat anxiety and migraines and insomnia. And, you know, some of the things about, I'm always so passionate about plants. Some of the things about plants, though, you know, a lot of people don't associate the history of plants. So lavender, the word lavender comes from the word lavare, which means to wash, because it was actually in the Mediterranean, where lavender comes from. People would wash their linens and then pile them on top of lavender and then have that scent so that they would be relaxed when they go to bed. So it's really wonderful to, and I think that often also associating all of that, all of the legends really enhances the way that you feel about the about having the plants around you. Of course, aloe vera is used for burns and cuts and so on, so forth, everything. Um, Lemon thyme is used to combat upset tummy, and it's really good as an antibiotic. Um, Celery root can reduce blood pressure. It also can treat psoriasis, and sunflowers are used to reduce fevers and colds and coughs. Peppermint can soothe headaches and skin irritations, calms your stomach. Catnip can lower your fevers and help with toothaches and so on. And basil is really good for stress. Boy, isn't that the truth? Just I love stuffing my nose into basil. And it also has antiviral and anti-cancer properties. So now I'm gonna get to the feng shui part. So most of what I've talked about so far are things that most gardeners are familiar with. Feng shui part is something that gardeners usually aren't necessarily familiar with. Um, so there is so much that I could talk about. I could spend I have actually taught workshops that lasted days about feng shui in the garden. So so I'm going to just condense it into a few principles that I think will really be helpful to you. And the principles that I'm talking about, just because, again, there's so much that feng shui has to offer people, I'm really going to just talk about feng shui and health. So these are some principles that I like to employ when I'm working with people that have either health problems or or actually I will look at all of these different things when I'm doing feng shui consultations for people. So first of all, the heart of your property that's the area, and I'll talk about this in just a few minutes. That's really the area that's given to a non-specific health part. So there are different parts of your property that can represent different areas of the body, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But the center is really the key for overall health issues. And if you can't, if there are more general uh, health issues, then you're definitely going to go to the center to think about what you can do there or what it looks like, even just analyzing it. The second thing is entries to your property should be clear of impediments. So we're going to look at entries and just get some different looks, and I'll talk to you about what I see as a feng shui practitioner for an entry that that is of issue. Third, your plants should be living. So that means that we should be removing your dead plants from your property. That's dead plants really pull the energy of a property down. Third, fourth, light your property well. Just that's a really good thing, because light brings energy. And then next would be the color white should be used sparingly, because in the Chinese vernacular, white is a color that is a draining color. It can drag you down. Um, and then the last thing is have meaning in your garden. And that's something that, that's really where my heart is. And I really love that part of feng shui most. Um, so let's start with the heart of the property. So the center of your property, as I said, is where the health part um, of our energy is supported. So there are different colors that are associated with different areas of your property, and the color that's associated with the center is yellow. So even if you add some yellow plants to the center of the property, that can help to enhance the energy there and improve your health. Also, there are shapes that are associated with different areas of the property. And in the center, that shape is rectangular or square. This is based on if anybody is associated, has an understanding of the 5 elements or the principles of acupuncture or the principles of Chinese medicine. We are talking about the element in the center, which is the element of earth, and that's what the center of the property holds. So if you take your property and this is, what I would say is, it's called the bagua. Ba means 8 and gua means section. And if you were to take your property and divide it into 9 equal parts, each part represents an aspect of life and has a color associated with it. For instance, if you start at the very entry of the property, you can see that that there are three areas. So in this example that you're looking at, there's a driveway in the area that's known as helpful people. It's also called benefactors. So it's really easy now with Google, and I do this all the time, to take a property and get a picture of it, apply the bagua, and then show it to my clients. You can use this not only for a property, but you also can use this on the house. So you can squinch it down and use the bagua to define the areas in your own home as well. So so here you can see that if I wanted to enhance that helpful people area in a very easy way, I could introduce the color of gray. Or in the career area, I could introduce the color black. So maybe, I might bring in your black aeoniums or something like that into the career area. If I wanted my life path to be enhanced. In the knowledge area, the color is blue. So in the center, okay, well, I'll just walk my way around the bagua. In the family area, the color is green. The areas in the back are considered, they're the most popular areas of the bagua, the area of wealth, fame, and relationship or marriage. And so they are in the back of the property, and they are in the most protected areas. So usually in the rear, in China, for instance, there might be the family gold that would be buried in the back of the property. And so the colors back there are purple, red, and pink. And then as you come along the other side, there's the children's area. The color there is white. But what we're concerned with today is the center of the property. So in terms of the bagua, you can overlay this bagua on top of the entire property, or you could take it and just lay it over the backyard. So you could gain all of the different areas. So for instance, look at this bagua. You can see that the center area occupies just a small part of the backyard. And you could, you could go out there and plant yellow flowering plants and enhance that aspect of your life. But you also could take the bagua and swinch it down and apply it only in the backyard, or you could do that in the front yard. So this is, it's no, the way that the school of feng shui that I'm aligned with works is that that it's called the ever-changing bagua. So that bagua can be introduced in an area, and basically what you want to look for is the entry point. That's where everything starts, and that the knowledge, career, and helpful people is always applied across that entry area. And so that's always your entry point, with the wealth, fame, and relationship in the back part of the property. So here you can see it applied, as again, across an entire property, but it can be done just for your backyard or just for your front yard as well. So it's kind of, it can be a lot of fun to play with this, a lot. So let's look first. So if the center of your yard looks like this, which I I don't think it would look like that for anybody in this club, you want to clean it up, because if you get like too much congestion or things are too disorganized, it can drag the energy of the whole space down. So you don't want that. But you can use yellow flowering plants. Here we've got Hemercalis, Stella d'Oro, nice little yellow daylily, which is edible in all its parts. Things like Gelsemium, which is just finishing its flowering now, and it's you probably all know it's so amazing. The scent is so wonderful. Gaspinia is another. So anything that's in the yellow, tan, even brown, you can bring into the center area to enhance that aspect. Shapes, anything that is earthy, stone, square, rectangle. So you can bring in a shape as simple as this, or an art piece. This is way too big, but it's fun for an illustration. And so that's things for the center. Next thing we're going to address is entries. So the entry to your property should be beautiful, welcoming, and clear of impediments. And so this is a beautiful moon gate that I photographed in China. And I like, I love the color of it. Of course, that there's the yellow of the health aspect. So this is a nice entry. It's very wide. So that part of it is really good. In terms of feng shui, I'd have to address this because the landscape part is really nice. I like There's a nice symmetry that's created here. The walkway is wide and clear. It's very uh, it's welcoming. Um, in terms of feng shui, this is a little bit difficult because you can see straight from the front to the back, which means that energy is kind of escaping. But that's really an issue that I would deal with in the house. You know, that would be part of the house feng shui that I deal with, rather than the garden. This is a little bit hard to see, but what's happening here is that, I'm sorry, yeah, I'll have to lighten this up. What you're not seeing in the shade area is that as soon as the walkway hit the public right of way, they stop the walkway. So the energy is really uh, uh, it's kind of truncated because you don't have a full path. And this path is, you know, narrower than I'd want to see, especially when it's coming to the front door. Oh yeah, here's another example. You can see clear, where the walkway stops short of the public right of way. Um, and uh, tramping through public right of way should never be a reason to stop the energy from fully coming into your home. But that's better than having no walkway at all. So here you've got a front door, but you know, no walkway. How do you get there? You know, um, you come through the lawn, and um, this this looks to me like it's pretty wide. The issues that I would look at with this particular entry also is the roses and how full they are. Because if you have roses that are going to snag you on the way into the property, a lot of times that can mean that it can create a thorny path for yourself, a thorny path where, you know, things are um, uh, poking you at certain times. That being said, if the roses are off to the side and you don't have, you know, you're not really being grabbed as you come in, you know, roses are wonderful. They give you a wonderful fragrance, and they have a lot of meaning in terms of love and joy and the fragrance. And a lot of that can be really a good antidote for some of the issues that they cause. Um, that is better than worrying whether you'll be impaled on the way to your front door. This property really, I know that the entry is from the driveway that's off to the left, but something like a landscape like this really reads, "Do not bother me. Do not enter." This is, you know, this is really an off-putting thing. And I've seen this, and, you know, as the popularity of succulents and things like that has, and agaves in particular, have grown, I've seen things that that uh, make me look at this and go, "Oh my goodness, you know, the people that are living here are really wanting to keep you away." Of course, if that's your intention, then that's good. um, so um, with this is actually more of a safety issue as well, because coming out of your front door, if you've had one too many cocktails, you could have an issue of, there's no barrier between that and a 2-foot drop. So you want to make sure that your entry feels and is practically safe as well. I think the other things when I'm looking at this particular entry, it doesn't feel like that chair that's sitting there is really something that says I'm gonna enjoy my front yard. It's just kind of there. So it's part of it. Part of what we're doing when we're setting our front entry, we're welcoming energy, but also we're setting a stage for how we welcome ourselves to our home. And something like this is kind of bare bones. This a lot better. It's got something that looks pretty cozy, whether it's comfortable or not, I don't know, but you seem to come into an entry that has a tree that embraces you, and the bench is a signal of rest and the ability to have a comfortable spot from which to engage with the world. This, the entry again is a little bit dark, so it's a little bit difficult to see. I've got to lighten this slide up again, but it's nice to have the curving pathway. It feels more relaxed and comfortable. In this particular picture, what you're not seeing, and I'll have to get some better pictures in, but what you're not seeing is there's a couple of plants at the front door. So you don't want to have so many plants in a small area that you feel like you're being cramped going in, because that will cramp the energy down as well. So you want, if you have a small entry like this, you want to make sure that you keep it clear. You can have plants, sure, but you want to make sure that you have enough space for the energy to come in. So if you feel like you're going to mash your plants going into your front door, then there's too many plants there. So all your plants should be living. You should remove any dead plants from your lot. And this is particularly true of trees. So nowadays, there is a big movement, and I think it might have started in Sweden. They do this, but I've been seeing it in LA as well, where people leave dead trees as snags. They're called snags, and they're used for habitat for birds, and to allow for a lot of the bugs and everything else that are important to our environment. This is an area that would be at odds with feng shui, because particularly like in your front yard, you want to make sure that you don't have dead trees. Well, you don't want to have dead trees anywhere, really, honestly, because it can affect different parts of different parts of your health. A dead tree really pulls the energy down, and in this case, this dead tree was the picture I took. My father-in-law planted this tree, and every windstorm it would go over and he'd write it again. It was up and down, its whole life. And then the last picture I took was, right when he died, and the tree was dead too. If you do want to preserve a tree, there are feng shui, special feng shui cures that can be done for dead trees, but that it's not something I'm going to talk about today. But my recommendation in terms of feng shui for your property is to remove dead trees. Next, lighting your property well. So here the property is very nicely lit, but the entry, the most actually important part. It's wonderful to have the lighting of the house. I guess the person that did the lighting wanted to emphasize the shapes in the house, and there is some lighting that that goes along the walkway. But if you look down in the bottom part of the picture, you'll see there's almost no lighting here, right where you have to step onto this path. And even almost more importantly, there's no lighting at the entry. So those 2 points are really important. You really need to have your entry well lit. It's not just and particularly it's important to have it at the what's known as the mouth of chi, where you start going into your property, and also at your front door. So here you can see the entry is well lit, much better, and the entry to the property is well lit. So you can see where you're going all the way. Of course, as a landscape architect, I would have uplit some of the other trees as well. Just, just because you've got the feng shui part of it going, but you don't have the drama of having your beautiful trees shown off at night. Next, I'm going to talk about white. And this is, again, as a landscape architect, sometimes this can be an issue for me when I'm working with a client, knowing what I know about feng shui, and knowing that a client really, there's some people that really want a lot of white in their environment. That having some white is okay. It's but too much white in your environment can drag the energy down. So in traditional feng shui, you'll find that white is a color of death, basically. And so just like we would wear black to a funeral, a lot of times Chinese people wear white to a funeral. And so this is why I talk about using white sparingly. So for instance, if sorry about that. Sorry. Technical difficulty. Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. But anyway, this is this is what you can do to a white fence. You can enhance it with art. You can bring in and again, this could be, you can use not just art, but you also can bring in a particular image that's really helpful to you. So the peacock is an image of importance, like in the Chinese culture. The peacock represents the eyes of a deity called Kuan Yin, and she is somebody who helps people attain their dreams, basically, or wishes. So taking a white gate and really making it special is a wonderful thing that you can do. You also can, of course, plant. So the white wall is covered with the passion vine, not in flowery in this picture, but great. So, there's one other thing I wanted to say about white. You can have white in your garden. It just doesn't need to be the preponderance of the color that's in the garden. So if you intermix it with other colors, no problem. Okay, so that's that. So you want to have meaning to your garden. I took this picture actually last weekend. How does that make you feel? No, the property was haunted, and actually we ran into the owner, and he confirmed that this property was haunted, that he actually had a lot of movement in the house at night, and that any of the people that were working on his property when it was under construction refused to work after dark. So this is the meaning you don't want to convey to your property, if you can avoid it. So again, entries set the tone for your garden. So in this picture, you're seeing, of course, you're seeing the pictograph over the door. And so a pictograph, a Chinese pictograph, I don't know what this says, but it could be a poem. It could be an announcement of the name of the garden. It could be the owner's name. And then you see the plum blossom, which represents it's springtime. And it's a very springtime. The plum blossom represent new beginnings, and when you look within the picture, you see, I mean, within the gate, the entry, you can see the bamboo, which is very soft and yielding, and you see the rocks, which are very hard. So those represent the elements of yin and yang together. So balance, how things balance out. So there's a lot that can go into how you create your entry to the garden. So you might recognize the Huntington Chinese garden here. But and I took this picture when the garden was very, very new. And it's filled in a lot since then. But even in a new garden, you can use the power of rocks. The character, one of the things about this garden that I've noticed from the beginning is the care with which the rocks were selected. They are so, the rocks are so alive in this garden. They they almost jump out at you, and the placement is so masterfully done. It's just incredible. So how you not only how what you select for your garden, but how you use it, it's really exciting and can add a lot of meaning to your garden. So of course, introducing water is a great thing. In the Chinese vernacular, water represents money. And so when you have fountains, particularly at your front door or in your wealth area, that can really help to bring um, more money in your life. So it doesn't have to be a fountain. It could also be, uh, a simple water feature. I love this one because it's got so much life in it. It's, water plants are are alive in this fountain. You can bring in symbols, symbols that are meaningful to you. So this particular this particular mandala came from my client, and we created it in her garden. So it's if you look at the outer ring with that's the parts that are painted pink, are the lotus, which represents enlightenment, and then the six-pointed star, which represents heaven on earth, and then the wholeness of the circle. And you can see that the client uses this space as a place for meditation. So this may not be your cup of tea, but what you want to do is create your own cup of tea. So this is in another garden. So whatever your religion, you can bring it into your garden and honor it. Even of course, Saint Francis was a friend to animals and plants. So it's a great um, image to bring into your garden. One of my clients had a blank wall. She had a muralist come and do this Lady of the Lake um, um, painting on the wall. It's really made it very special in that garden. This is an addition I just made to my garden. So cranes represent longevity. So this is at the entry to my garden, or it's in near the entry to my home, should I say. So what I've done is I got two cranes. The one on the left is represents a male, because it's the yawn principle. So he's got his wings up and he's ready to go, and he's in an area that is actually more sunny, and that's that draws on all the different aspects of yan in life, the upward moving energy. He's backed up by bamboo, and it also is the same, has that upward moving energy. And then in the background, you can see the yin pair. So the more female, who's looking downward, her wings are down, she's in a little shadier area. And so these are the aspects of life that create balance, that outward and the inward, that we all experience as we go through life. And then finally, love of garden. We, there's the outward world where we have all our stuff, and life goes up and life goes down. But where we have our trees and our environment, that um, our gardens um, are really helping to bring about new life and new uh, uh, new energy into the world. So your garden can be used to enhance you, to enhance your health, and to also uh, make an influence everybody around you. So I have a little story about that. When I first moved into my neighborhood, I had a front, in my front yard, it was all lawn, and it looked like everybody else's front yard. And so that, was changed. I brought in all kinds of plants and did, different kinds of planting and all kinds of stuff. And my husband was very nervous about it. He said, nobody else's front yard looks like this. And I said, well, oh well. And as as I lived, within probably a year, the people on my block all started to enhance their front yards. So, when we as gardeners, we love our own garden. We don't often think about the influence that we have on all those around us. So it's the same thing. It's one of the things that is really important to me about feng shui, that you're it's not just you that you do feng shui for. When your energy lifts, it lifts everybody around you, not just you, your family, your neighborhood, your community. It's important work that we all do as gardeners to bring about better energy in this world. That's it.
Oh, thank you so much, Shelley. You've given me food for thought and also some tasks, things I need to correct. But I noticed I have a few things right. I'm sure everybody here has a reaction to your presentation today. So I'd like you all to unmute yourselves and share your images. You can turn on your video if you want, and let's start asking questions. I don't see anything in chat. People ignored that feature today. So I'm gonna put gallery view here and look for people
Oh, good.
who want to say something. Anybody have something they want to
Yeah,
say?
I have a question.
Tina.
Yeah.
Tina, please.
Is Shelley gonna give more classes? Is Shelley gonna give more classes on feng shui?
Oh boy, I'd love to. I haven't been teaching my my landscape architecture practice has been so busy. It's been it's been it's been a lot for me to to manage that. But I am planning on retiring. And I would love to teach more classes. I just, first of all, the whole pandemic thing is, intimidating. But I'd love to teach more classes. And if there's any other classes, anything else you'd, like me to teach in this venue, that's fine. I could do that. If you want to suggest a venue and a topic, I have I've got a lot of different things. I teach about feng shui in the garden, feng shui for health, feng shui for wealth, feng shui for relationships. I have a book. I should publicize that. Also, I have a book called Secrets of the Land, Designing Harmonious Gardens with Feng Shui. It's available on my website or on Amazon. And so,
Shelley,
yeah.
Shelley, let me interrupt and ask you to slowly spell out your website for us, for anyone who wants to.
Okay. It's www, of course, .harmonygardens, HARMONYGARDENS.net.
.net. Okay, so that would mean someone could find all of your contact information there, as well as your books and schedule of classes, if there are.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
So you said www.harmonygardens.net.
Yes. And then if you have a group that you'd like me to teach, I'd love to do more teaching. It's really part of who I am and what I love to do.
All right. One of the things right away I noticed was when you talked about that little article in Costco, I also read that this morning, and that man, Dr. Parr, actually prescribes interactions with nature. He said, even if it's just opening a window, but some kind of a nature interaction is definitely healing. I really love the way you started that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome.
Any
Yeah,
questions?
Would you recommend, another question, would you recommend any landscaper who's reasonable and good?
I wish I had myself. And I'd be open to any landscape contractor. I've got, it's been an interesting journey for me as, I've had landscape contractors that I've worked with over the years. And my favorite one has just kind of been on and off ill for the last probably 2 or 3 years. So I've just kind of, catch as catch can. But if this is a good place as a forum for that. Yeah.
Well, that is
Thank you.
something we're all always looking for, Tina. I would recommend that you at least go on the California contractors website, the state of California's website that oversees contractors, if you find one, and make sure they're licensed. Did you have a question, Anne?
Also,
I saw you raise your hand. No?
I have a question.
Yes.
If your only entrance to
It's
your
11 hours.
house is up the driveway, how do you make that more feng shui-ish?
well, you go up to the up the driveway, but then don't you have a little walkway to your front door?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's where you would want to go for your enhancement.
Okay.
The driveway is is a good if you don't have a direct line to your front door, the driveway is good. It's what they would call a big mouth of chi, so that's good. And then what you want to do is you want to make that that walkway really welcoming and as wide as you can, wide and open and welcoming.
Thank you.
Tina left a note. Thank you for your information. Does anyone want to ask Shelley a question?
Yes, Shelley, do you know of some nurseries that has a good varieties of color flowers that are perennials
Um,
that we can put?
Annuals.
I mean,
Well,
no, perennials. The ones
Perennial.
that
oh,
we can-
perennials. Yeah, perennials.
Perennials, sorry.
I mean, where do I shop? I shop at Vineland Nursery. You're probably all familiar with that. It's a great nursery. It was I don't know whether, are you familiar? I don't know whether you are.
Yes,
It's right
some
up-
of us are familiar with Vineland growers, and
Oh.
one of our members, in fact, Chris Van Dusen, told us about them.
Yeah, the owners originally worked for Green Thumb, and their prices are really good in terms of their plant choices are pretty wide. It's not
Mhm.
it's really wide. It really depends on your what if you're looking for perennials, you'll find a lot there.
Mhm.
I think that they have a really good selection and their
Mhm.
pricing is very good.
Yes.
Other than that, I mean, I usually buy my plants wholesale, so hard. If you
Mhm.
really want to go to some primo nurseries, of course, you can go to Marina Del Rey Gardens.
Mhm.
They're beautiful. They've got huge selection, and their plants are very primo.
Mhm.
You know, I, I love all of the common places like Armstrong,
Yes.
like that, of course.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then I know your nursery near Burbank, that one really great nursery closed down.
Yes.
Um,
Sheridan Garden.
Sheraton Gardens, I hated that when it closed down.
Mhm.
But I think that those are good places to start in this particular neighborhood. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you. That's
Yeah.
good. You know,
Me-
for the last 2 months, I watch QVC, the shopping
Uh-huh.
channel, and there's a program called Roberta's Garden. And it's just, they show so many wide varieties, but the shortcoming is that you want to buy everything, and then when they come, you don't have the time to plant.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, that,
So
that's,
going to,
that's,
mhm,
yeah, that's the curse of people that love plants. I mean, there's so
and
many
they are
different varieties.
unusual plants.
Yeah. 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 It's,
But it's
I
fun.
would,
Mhm.
yeah, it is fun. It is fun.
How do you
Where is-
incorporate vegetables in with your colors and in those
Yeah,
sections?
that's a really good question. If you're looking for a spot, I mean, of course, you're going to have it in, a sun area, of course. But if you can find an area in the fame area of your property, that is an element of fire, and it actually is really good for a vegetable garden.
Mm.
I just installed one of those keyhole gardens in my fame area, and it was, it's great. I love it. I love growing my own vegetables. Yeah.
So
But-
there's a couple of things here in chat, and I wanted to let everyone know I have put Shelley's website address in there. there's a question about consultations. I refer them to your website, and
Yeah,
Joe.
or you also, right, my email would be good too. Yeah,
All right, I will type the email in there
Mhm.
if you will say it.
Shelley, Shelley,
Uh-huh.
at harmonygardens.net.
At Harmony. Okay, it's in the chat.
Or the feng.
Or it's not in the chat. I'm sorry. It should be to everyone. I'll do it again.
Shelley
Yeah.
at harmonygardens.net. Yeah, the only reason I'm saying that is because I had somebody complain that they tried my website and I don't know what, and couldn't get through or something.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes websites can go funny all by themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's 2 ways to reach Shelley. Any more questions for Shelley? Well, we have really loved this. And in fact, as I
Mhm.
mentioned to you, Shelley, when we talked on the phone, I want you to join our club. You live near us. You're
I've been
thinking
trying
of
to play with that.
retiring. Retire to the garden club.
That's exactly what I want to do.
That would be fun. You
Yeah.
would enjoy it.
Yeah, it will be my great pleasure to
Maybe
be
she'll
part
come
of a
back.
garden club when I'm
I've been
retired.
trying to do the same.
Pradeep, are you asking the group a question?
Uh, Ramila is helping me with the computer.
It's okay.
Oh,
He
okay,
can talk.
never mind
He can
then.
talk to you. It's fine. though.
As long as I can talk, but I must say I learned a lot.
Mhm.
Yes, Shelley,
Yes.
we just took a field trip to Pradeep's home garden, and I wish you had seen it with us, because it is the very definition of making meaning in a garden. I'll just tease
Oh,
you with that.
nice.
Oh, it's so flattering and spiritual. Oh,
Yeah,
Shelley, it's so nice to listen to you. And I mean, all I can say is thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you.
I learned a lot.
Oh, good.
A lot.
Good.
Mhm.
Great.
all right then. Shelley, you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay.
There are a lot of thank yous here in chat for you. People really liked your presentation. It
Mhm.
is recorded, and we're going to